If your mind has been busy, if the day has felt a little too loud, or if your thoughts keep circling when all you want is rest, you can let them soften now. Tonight you are invited into a slower world, one shaped by moonlit forests, quiet oceans, patient pause, and the steady breath of the natural world. We will wander gently among some of the planet's most powerful predators, not through fear, but through calm observation. If you'd like, leave a comment sharing what time it is where you are, and one peaceful thought you want to carry into sleep. And if you would like a quiet place to return whenever you need rest, you are warmly welcome to subscribe. Now, let the world grow softer around you. Take a moment to settle. Let your breathing become a little slower, a little easier, with no effort at all. Feel the support beneath you, steady and patient, holding your weight so that you do not have to. The day does not need anything more from you right now. There is nowhere to rush to, and nothing to solve in this quiet moment. You are simply here, breathing in, breathing out, while the natural world continues in its own gentle rhythm. Let your thoughts drift like mist through trees. Let your shoulders loosen. Let your jaw unclench. Let the stillness find you, one calm breath at a time. Snow leopard mountains, high above the tree line, where the air is thin and clear and the world feels made of stone, silence, and snow. The snow leopard moves with extraordinary softness. The mountains seem immense and ancient here, layered in pale gray rock, blue shadow, and bright patches of ice that catch the light of the early morning. Wind crosses the ridges in slow, cool streams, carrying only the faintest sounds. A distant shifting of gravel, the hush of air against a steep cliff, the muted fall of powder snow from a ledge, warmed slightly by the sun. In this wide and quiet place, the snow leopard belongs so completely that it almost disappears into the land itself. Its coat reflects the mountain world around it, thick and clouded with soft rosettes, pale cream, smoke gray, and touches of silver that blend with stone and frost. Even from nearby, it can be difficult to separate the animal from the slope it crosses. This is part of its gentle mystery. It does not hurry. It does not announce itself. It simply moves, and the mountain seems to move with it. Its paws are broad and furred, built for cold ground and narrow footing. Each step settles lightly, pressing into snow or gravel with almost no sound at all. Its long tail follows behind like a warm, balanced ribbon, curving through the air and helping the cat stay steady on ledges where the drop below is vast and open. The tail is also warmth in the cold, a soft cover when the leopard rests, curling around the body as wind passes over the ridge. The life of the snow leopard is one of patience. It travels long distances through these high ranges, often alone, tracing routes across cliffs, ravines, and broken shelves of rock. Nothing in its movement feels abrupt. The climb is measured. The pause is measured. The turning of the head toward a distant sound is measured. Even its watchfulness has a calm quality, as though it is listening not only to the mountain, but with it. Below the high ridges, valleys rest in shadow. Streams run under skins of ice. Sparse grasses bend under frost. Here and there, low alpine plants cling close to the ground, protected from the wind. The light changes slowly in the mountains, often beginning in deep blue before reaching silver, and then pale gold. As morning grows, the snow leopard may settle on a rocky outcrop warmed by a patch of sun. From there, it surveys an enormous world without tension, without noise, as still as carved stone. Its ears are small and rounded, conserving warmth. Its chest is strong for the elevations it crosses. Its breathing is quiet. Its gaze is steady. Everything about it seems shaped by a place where life must be efficient, balanced, and deeply aware of the environment. But here, in this calm telling, there's no urgency in that awareness. There is only harmony. The mountain cat and the mountain itself, both made for stillness. Cloud shadows drift over slopes like slow-moving water. A raven crosses the sky and vanishes beyond a ridge. Far off, snow loosens and slips down a narrow chute in a whispering trail. The snow leopard remains composed within it all, moving when it chooses, resting when it chooses. Part of a rhythm much older than the passing of a single day. Sometimes it follows a contour trail that curves along a high wall of stone. Sometimes it lowers its body onto a shelf and becomes nearly invisible. Chin lifted slightly, whiskers still, eyes half narrowed against the brightness of snow. It can remain in such stillness for long stretches, conserving energy, observing the land, wrapped in cold, clean air. In this stillness, there is something deeply restful, not empty, but spacious, not lonely, but complete. The mountains at night are quieter still. Starlight rests on snowfields. The sky feels close and endless at once. Wind touches the cliffs and then moves on. In this darkness, the snow leopard becomes a softer outline, a pale shape gliding between rock and moonlight. Its world is not lit by noise or motion, but by memory, instinct, and the familiarity of terrain known through repetition. Every path, every ledge, every resting place is part of a silent map written into the body over time. And so the snow leopard continues across its high country, never breaking the peace of the mountains, only adding to it. A creature often called powerful, yet in the quiet of night, it seems defined more by gentleness of movement than by strength. It reminds the mind that not everything powerful must be loud. Some things are most powerful when they are soft, balanced, and nearly silent, like a pale cat walking through snow under the patient gaze of the stars. Open ocean sharks. Far from the shore, beyond the busy edge of human sound, the open ocean stretches in every direction, like a vast breathing field of blue. The surface rises and falls in long, unbroken swells. Sunlight enters the water in soft shafts, slowly fading from silver into cobalt, then into deeper shades where the sea becomes quieter and more mysterious. Here, motion is constant, but never rushed. Everything drifts, glides, and turns in patient arcs, shaped by currents older than memory. Among these calm layers of water, sharks move with a kind of effortless grace that suits the ocean perfectly. Their bodies are shaped for smooth passage through the sea, each curve and angle working with the water rather than against it. There is no splashing, no wasted motion, no dramatic interruption of the quiet blue world around them. A shark simply swims, and in swimming becomes part of the ocean's rhythm. Seen from below, the light above trembles gently. Seen from the side, a shark appears like a clean brushstroke moving through space. The tail moves in a steady side-to-side rhythm. The fins hold balance. The body stays aligned and calm. Its skin, textured in a way that reduces drag, lets water slip past in silence. This is an ancient design, refined over long ages, and it carries a sense of still confidence. Many sharks spend their time in motion, crossing open water where there are few landmarks except changes in temperature, current, depth, and light. Yet this motion does not feel restless. It feels natural, continuous, almost meditative. To drift beside such a creature in imagination is to notice how peaceful, true efficiency can be. Nothing extra, nothing hurried, only movement that belongs exactly where it is. The ocean itself offers endless calm details. Tiny particles float like dust in sunbeams. Schools of fish flash and gather, then fold into new shapes like pieces of silver cloth. Far above, the surface glimmers. Far below, darkness softens everything into blue shadow. Sound travels differently here. Instead of voices or machines, there is the distant murmur of water, the soft pressure of depth, the occasional far-off click or pulse from unseen life moving somewhere in the larger sea. A reef shark tracing the edge of coral shelves, a tiger shark gliding over sandy seafloor, a great hammerhead turning in wide, quiet circles through warm water, all seem held by the same overarching calm. Even where the ocean is full of life, there is room enough for stillness. The sea does not crowd itself. It expands, accepts, and carries all motion gently forward. Sharks rely on senses attuned to this watery world. They perceive tiny changes in pressure, faint electrical signals, subtle traces carried through currents. Their awareness is broad and constant, but not frantic. It is more like listening. The sea speaks in temperature, vibration, and direction, and the shark answers by adjusting its path with quiet precision. A turn of the body, a slow rise, a descent into cooler water. The grace of it is what lingers. In the early morning, when light is pale and the sea surface is almost glassy, the world beneath can feel suspended outside of time. A shark moving through that water becomes part of the sunrise itself, not separate from it. In the afternoon, when sunbeams reach more deeply, its outline may appear and disappear through ribbons of brightness. At dusk, blue darkens slowly, and the entire sea seems to exhale. Sometimes smaller fish travel close by, keeping near the shark as it moves through the water. Sometimes the shark passes over sand marked with ripples made by current. Sometimes it slips along a drop-off where coral gives way to deeper blue. Each scene unfolds without urgency. The ocean offers no sharp edges in this telling, only distance, fluidity, and rest. Even the strongest swimmers in the sea are held by water's softness. That is part of what makes the open ocean so calming to imagine. It supports, it surrounds, it slows everything slightly, turning motion into glide. The shark, often thought of only as a symbol of danger, becomes here something quieter, an old and steady traveler in a world of blue silence. And so it keeps moving through the open sea, beneath sun and moon, through warm currents and cooler depths, through hours that cannot be measured by clocks alone. There is peace in that endless swimming. There is calm in the repetition of fin, tail, current, and light. African savanna lions. As evening comes to the African savanna, the heat of the day begins to loosen its grip. Golden grasslands soften under the lowering sun. Acacia trees spread their delicate flat crowns against a sky turning from bright blue to amber, then to rose and violet. The air cools little by little. Insects begin their evening songs. Distant birds cross the horizon in dark, small silhouettes. A wide plain that shimmered with heat all afternoon settles into a quieter mood. In this broad and open landscape, Lions rest with a calm that matches the fading day. Their bodies lie low in the grass, tawny and warm-toned, blending easily with the earth around them. A lioness may stretch beneath a tree where shade lingers. A male with a dark mane may sit for a time with heavy stillness, watching the horizon without hurry. Cubs may doze in a patch of flattened grass while the breeze moves gently across their fur. Much of a lion's life is spent resting. This is one of the soft truths that often goes unnoticed. In the warm hours, stillness is part of the rhythm of survival. The pride settles together, or in loose nearness, each animal at ease in the presence of the others. Ears flick at flies. A tail moves slowly once, then becomes still again. Eyes close, open, close again. The breathing of resting lions becomes part of the evening atmosphere, as natural as the wind passing through dry stems. The savanna has its own gentle soundtrack at dusk. Grasses whisper against one another. Doves call from branches. Somewhere water lies in a shallow pan, reflecting the last light. The smell of dust, warm bark, dry seed, and cooling earth rises softly into the air. Nothing rushes this transition. Day does not end suddenly here. It slows, and everything with it slows too. A lioness lifting her head does so with an economy of motion that feels almost ceremonial. Her shoulders are smooth and strong, yet relaxed. Her golden eyes reflect what little light remains. When she walks, her paws press silently into dust, leaving brief, clear prints on a path already crossed many times before. The muscles beneath her coat move like gentle waves. There is strength in that movement, certainly, but no harshness in the way it appears. It belongs to the same world as grass, dusk, and wind. As darkness gathers, the sky deepens into indigo. Stars begin to show, one by one, then more. The air cools further, making the plain feel larger and more spacious. Lions become more wakeful in the night hours, but still the mood remains unhurried in this retelling. A pride moving together through tall grass is less like a burst of action and more like a flow of tawny shadows passing through moonlight. The grass parts, the grass closes. The night holds them gently. Young lions learn the shape of the land through repetition. Termite mounds, dry channels, shaded trees, paths worn by many feet. Older lions know these spaces deeply. Watering places, open hunting grounds, cool resting spots, all exist within a familiar map of scent and memory. To live on the savanna is to understand openness, distance, weather, and the hour-by-hour shift of light. The lions carry that understanding quietly in the way they pause, look, and settle. A mane catches the moon with a silver edge. Whiskers show briefly white against darkness. Nearby, another lion exhales in a long, slow breath and lowers its head back to the ground. The night is full of subtle things, the pulse of insects, the occasional rustle of small creatures in the brush, a breeze moving over the plain in gentle, invisible bands. The lions remain centered within it all, never apart from the landscape, always woven into it. By dawn, the sky brightens at the horizon in a pale band of blue and gold. Coolness lingers before the sun rises higher. Lions may return to shaded places or remain resting where the night carried them. Morning birds begin to call. The grass catches dew in fine, bright lines, and so the lions remain part of the savanna's great breathing cycle. Heat and shade, dusk and dawn, wakefulness and rest. They are often imagined only in moments of intensity, but the longer truth is gentler. Lions are creatures of long pauses, shared quiet, warm earth, and the gradual turning of light across an endless plain. In that long pause, in that shared quiet, there is something easy for the tired mind to follow into rest. Arctic coast polar bears. At the edge of the frozen sea, where snow meets ice and ice meets dark cold water, the Arctic lies under a wide pale sky. This is a world of openness and light, even in its quietest hours. Snow stretches across the land in soft, sculpted drifts. Sea ice forms wide, shifting plains, broken by leads of deep blue water. The wind moves across everything with a clean, steady voice, smoothing edges, carrying fine crystals through the air, erasing tracks as quickly as they appear. In this bright and spacious place, the polar bear walks with calm certainty. Its white coat holds the color of the environment around it, reflecting snow, cloud, and pale winter sun. At a distance, it can seem almost like part of the landscape itself, a quiet shape crossing a frozen world. Up close, the fur shows warmth and texture, thick and layered against the cold. Beneath it, a powerful body moves with surprising ease. The paws of a polar bear are broad and well suited to this environment. They spread weight over snow and ice and help the bear travel long distances across frozen surfaces. When it walks, there is a measured steadiness in each step. Head slightly lowered, shoulders rolling gently beneath the coat, breath visible in faint clouds. No motion is hurried. The Arctic seems too vast for hurry. Everything here encourages patience. The sea ice itself is never entirely still. It cracks softly. It groans at a distance as temperatures shift and pressure changes. Snow skims across its surface in delicate trails. Light reflects from every angle, sometimes dazzling and bright, sometimes muted under pearl gray cloud. The polar bear moves through this changing world as though it has all the time it needs, because in a sense it lives by larger rhythms. The seasons of freezing and thawing, the movement of sea ice, the return of light after long darkness. There is a profound quiet in the Arctic. Even the wind can feel spacious rather than noisy, as though it is passing through a cathedral of snow and sky. Footsteps are softened by powder. Water laps gently against ice edges where open leads appear. In the distance, an ice hummock casts a blue shadow. Beyond it, nothing interrupts the horizon for a very long time. This emptiness is not barren. It is peaceful, uncluttered, clean. A polar bear may pause often, lifting its nose to the air. Scent travels far in cold environments, and the bear reads the landscape through wind as much as through sight. But even this attentiveness feels calm here. The head turns slowly. The nose tests the air. Then the animal continues, leaving a neat line of tracks behind. Sometimes those tracks cross flat snowfields. Sometimes they descend to shorelines where frozen pebbles rest under drifted snow. Sometimes they lead along pressure ridges where broken ice rises in white-blue walls shaped by the sea beneath. When a bear rests, it may settle into snow that has been packed and curved by the wind. From a small distance, the body becomes a gentle rise in the white landscape. Eyes half closed, ears still, breath slow, the bear seems perfectly at home in cold so complete that it would feel impossible anywhere else. And yet here, it is simply the natural condition of things. In summer, parts of the coast soften. Snow pulls back from patches of earth. Water shines under the long light of northern days. Ice drifts farther out. Even then, the atmosphere of the Arctic remains unhurried. Coastal tundra carries low plants, moss, and shallow pools that reflect the sky. The polar bear crossing such a shoreline becomes a pale, moving presence between land and sea, just as calm as in winter, just as shaped by openness. During the darker months, moonlight on snow can be astonishingly gentle. It turns the land silver blue and makes each ridge, drift, and track glow faintly. A polar bear walking beneath that moon appears almost luminous, a slow, silent figure moving through one of the quietest landscapes on Earth. There is no crowding in the Arctic night, only distance, breath, ice, stars. And so the polar bear continues along the frozen coast, guided by wind, light, and the language of sea ice. It reminds us that even in a harsh environment, life can move with dignity and calm. The Arctic does not rush, and neither does the bear. Together, they form a picture of patience so complete that the mind, following their rhythm, begins to loosen and settle into a deeper silence. Mangrove estuary crocodiles. Where the river widens and begins to meet the sea, the water turns slow and reflective. Mangrove roots arch and twist above the mud like careful fingers, creating a world of channels, shadow, and warm, still air. The estuary is neither fully river nor fully ocean. It is a place of mingling currents, quiet tide changes, and dense green life. Leaves shine under humid light. Insects hum in the shade. Small ripples move across the water and fade again. In this sheltered, watery maze, crocodiles rest with a stillness so complete that they can seem like part of the shoreline. A long, dark back floats near the surface. Eyes and nostrils rise just above the waterline. The rest remains hidden in the cool, green-brown world below. There is almost no movement to see, and yet there is life, steady and ancient, carried in the slow drifting of the current. The mangrove forest softens every sound. Water laps gently at roots and mud banks. Leaves tap one another in the breeze. A distant bird calls from deeper in the trees. Mud skippers flick at the edge of the shallows. Crabs trace tiny marks in wet silt. Beneath this layered quiet, the crocodile waits. But in this telling, waiting is peaceful. It is simply the estuary's way. Stillness is not absence here. It is presence without noise. A crocodile's body is wonderfully suited to this kind of place. Strong tail, low profile, eyes positioned high, skin patterned in dark earth tones that mirror wet bark, shadow, and water. When it moves, it often does so with astonishing smoothness, pushing forward almost without disturbing the surface. The wake behind it is slight, a V of ripples widening into the dim reflections of branches overhead. The tide changes slowly in mangrove country. Water fills narrow channels, then falls away again, leaving roots exposed and mud shining in the filtered light. The crocodile moves with these shifts, sometimes resting in deeper pools, sometimes gliding through passages barely visible between clusters of roots. Overhead, the canopy breaks sunlight into pieces, so that gold and green patches drift across the animal's back. Nothing feels abrupt. The whole estuary seems to breathe in and out with water. In warm afternoon heat, the banks may become quiet enough that every detail sharpens. The buzz of a dragonfly, the drop of condensed water from a leaf, the tiny circular rings made by something touching the surface. A crocodile lying at the edge of the mud, half in water and half in sun, becomes another calm feature of the landscape. Its eyes may close, open, remain still again. Time lengthens in this place. When evening comes, the estuary changes gently. Light turns amber, then bronze. Reflections deepen. The mangrove trunks become dark vertical lines in the glowing water. Bats begin to pass overhead. The first stars may appear in small gaps above the canopy. In the half-light, a crocodile slipping from bank to channel is almost soundless. The water receives it and closes behind it without a splash. This is a very old kind of calm, one that belongs to tidal places where land and water have shaped each other for thousands of years. Mangroves shelter young fish, birds, insects, crustaceans, and countless other small lives. The crocodile is part of that greater pattern, as established and fitting as the roots themselves. Its stillness is not separate from the estuary. It is one more expression of the estuary's patience. Even in rain, the place keeps its soothing character. Droplets strike the water with 1,000 tiny notes. Leaves shine darker. Mud grows glossy. The crocodile beneath the surface becomes only a suggestion, a shape hidden in tea-colored water below the tapping rain. The rhythm of falling drops, of current touching roots, of tide shifting grain by grain along the bank, turns the estuary into a cradle of sound and texture. At night, the channels become black mirrors. The air remains warm. Insects sing steadily. Far beyond the mangroves, the sea continues its own larger breathing, sending the tide inward and pulling it back again. Somewhere in that network of channels, a crocodile drifts through moon-broken reflections with quiet composure. Ancient, watchful, and perfectly adapted, it adds no disturbance to the darkness. It only belongs to it. And so the crocodile rests and glides within the mangrove estuary, a creature often described in fierce terms, yet living much of its life in profound stillness. Here, surrounded by roots, mud, tide, and warm dusk air, it becomes part of a slower story, a story of patient water, shaded channels, and the deep calm of an ancient wetland settling into night. Rainforest jaguars. Deep in the rainforest, where the air is warm and heavy with the scent of leaves, bark, and distant rain, green life rises in every direction. Towering trees hold a high canopy that filters sunlight into soft layers. Vines hang in loose coils. Ferns gather in the understory. Broad leaves catch droplets and release them slowly to the ground below. The forest is alive with sound, yet it never feels crowded. Water drips. Insects murmur. Hidden birds call from far above. Everything is wrapped in green shade and slow moisture. Within this layered world, the jaguar moves like a quiet thought passing through leaves. Its coat, golden and patterned with dark rosettes, gathers the dim light of the forest and breaks it apart across muscle and shadow. When sun reaches through the canopy in narrow beams, the jaguar appears and disappears in pieces, shoulder, flank, whiskers, tail, then nothing but foliage once more. It is a master of silence, yet the silence here is soothing rather than tense. Rainforest ground is soft with fallen leaves and damp earth. Roots twist through the soil. Small streams cross the paths of larger animals and vanish beneath roots or stones. The jaguar steps through this world without haste. Each paw is placed with care. Each pause feels settled and complete. There's no need for wasteful motion in the forest. The jaguar understands this, and so its movement has the calm precision of water finding its own course. Unlike the wide openness of the savanna or the sea, the rainforest offers closeness, shade near the skin, moisture in the air, leaves brushing leaves in light wind. It is a place of enclosure, but a peaceful one, filled with rich textures and soft repetitions. A jaguar passing beside a creek enters this closeness so naturally that it seems to be woven from the same dark greens and browns. The forest receives it without change. Water is everywhere in rainforest life. Streams ripple over stone. Pools collect beneath buttress roots. Rain falls briefly and then steadily, then stops, leaving the leaves sparkling. Jaguars are comfortable in this watery environment. They may move beside rivers, cross shallows, or rest near the cool edge of a forest pool where reflected leaves tremble on the surface. The sound of that water adds to the slow lullaby of the jungle. In the hottest part of the day, the jaguar may settle in dense shade where the air is cooler. There, it becomes a resting shape among roots and shadows. Breathing slows, eyes narrow. Insects continue their endless small music. Somewhere high above, monkeys rustle through the canopy. But even that sound comes softened by height and leaves. Time in the rainforest does not pass in sharp lines. It drifts from rain to stillness, from shade to deeper shade. The jaguar's senses are fitted to this environment. It notices movement in undergrowth, the direction of water, the subtle opening of paths through dense vegetation. Yet all of this awareness exists in a body capable of remaining wonderfully still. That stillness is part of the rainforest's own character. The forest can feel full and hushed at the same time, and the jaguar mirrors that paradox perfectly. At dusk, the green of the forest darkens into deeper tones. The undergrowth becomes almost black in places. Fireflies may appear among the trunks. Frogs begin to call from waterlogged hollows. A jaguar moving through this low light is like a piece of the forest made briefly visible. The rosettes on its coat soften. Its whiskers catch a trace of silver. Then it passes between tree trunks and becomes shadow again. Rain arriving at night transforms the jungle into one continuous curtain of sound. Leaves shine. Branches drip. Pools widen. Mist begins to rise where warm earth meets cooler air. The jaguar beneath such rain carries on with quiet assurance, its coat darkened slightly, its body low and smooth through wet foliage. There is no struggle in the scene, only belonging. Forest, rain, and cat, all moving within the same warm breathing night. And so, the jaguar lives in the great green hush of the rainforest, an animal of presence more than noise, of shadow more than display. Though strong and solitary, it does not break the peace of the jungle. It deepens it. Following that deep green peace, with its slow water and dripping leaves, the mind can begin to sink as softly as mist settling through trees. Boreal forest wolves. Far to the north, where forests of spruce, fir, birch, and pine stretch for immense distances, the boreal woods move through long seasons of snow, thaw, summer light, and autumn gold. Lakes lie dark and glassy between the trees. Moss softens the ground. In winter, snow gathers on branches and hushes the entire forest. In summer, the air carries the scent of resin, wet earth, and growing things warmed by low northern sun. In this quiet forest world, wolves travel with a calm, enduring rhythm. They are creatures of movement over distance, but theirs is not a hurried movement. It is measured, efficient, and deeply connected to the land. A wolf crossing a snowy clearing does so with steady steps, body aligned, breath visible in pale clouds. One follows another. Tracks become a single line through the white. the forest watches in silence. What often feels most soothing about wolves is their relationship to space and sound. They belong to forests where there is room to roam, room to listen, room for weather to shape each day. The boreal forest is full of subtle sounds: snow sliding from boughs, branches creaking in cold, a river hidden under ice, wind flowing through needles like a long whispered breath. The wolves move inside this quiet orchestra without disturbing it. Their coats suit the land in every season. In winter, thick fur catches frost and blends with gray trunks, white snowfields, and dim blue shadow. In warmer months, their colors echo bark, stone, and summer earth. A wolf pausing among young pines can seem almost made from the same palette as the forest floor. Its ears turn slightly, its nose lifts to the air. Then it continues, gentle-footed over moss or snow. Wolves live within social bonds that bring a special softness to their presence. They travel in family groups, rest near one another, and communicate through posture, gaze, movement, and sound. Even their famous howls, when imagined from a distance on a still winter night, can feel less like alarm and more like the voice of the forest made audible. A long note rising through moonlit trees, carried over frozen lakes and sleeping hills, becomes part of the northern atmosphere itself. At dawn, the boreal forest can be breathtakingly still. Frost brightens the edges of every branch. Light gathers slowly through the trunks. The air is so cold and clear that each detail seems sharpened. Paw prints in powder, the curve of a bent sapling, the pale steam of breath. Wolves moving through such a morning carry with them the calm of purpose. They know the trails, the ridge lines, the watercourses hidden beneath snow. Their bodies remember the map. During the day, wolves may rest in sheltered areas where trees break the wind. Snow forms a shallow bowl around them. In summer, they may settle in shade near ferns and wild grasses, where insects hum and sunlight filters down in soft green pieces. Rest is part of the rhythm too. The boreal forest encourages this pattern of travel and pause, wakefulness and stillness, always guided by weather and season. Autumn adds another kind of quiet beauty. Leaves yellow and fall. The air grows cooler. Lakes reflect a clearer sky. Wolves pass through a world of gold birch, dark evergreen, and rust-colored undergrowth. The ground is soft with needles and fallen leaves. A path opens between trunks and disappears again. Everything feels transitional, calm, prepared for the first snow. When night settles over the boreal forest, stars may appear between branches, sharp and bright in cold air. Moonlight turns open spaces silver. Tree shadows stretch blue across snow. Somewhere, a wolf stands at the edge of a clearing, looking across a frozen lake. Somewhere else, another moves quietly through saplings, almost soundless. The forest remains vast and composed around them, and so wolves continue through the northern woods, not as symbols of fear, but as companions to winter silence, summer dusk, and the endless patient breathing of the trees. Their lives are shaped by distance, family, and the changing seasons. In following their steady path through forest after forest, the mind finds a simple rhythm to rest within, like footsteps fading deeper into snow. Desert dunes and night scorpions. When daylight eases from the desert and the heat slowly leaves the sand, the dunes begin to change their color. Gold becomes amber. Amber becomes rose, then lavender gray as the sun drops lower. Shadows lengthen along each ridge, tracing smooth curves that wind far into the distance. The desert, so bright and stark in full day, softens beautifully at evening. Air cools. Wind relaxes. Silence gathers over the open sand. In this wide and spare landscape, night brings out small patient hunters whose lives unfold close to the ground. Scorpions emerge when the heat fades, moving across sand with a quiet precision that suits the desert perfectly. Their bodies are compact and polished, built for crevices, burrows, and shifting dunes. To watch one in imagination is not to feel alarm, but to notice how gentle even tiny footsteps can be on cooling sand. The desert at night is a place of extraordinary stillness. Wind may draw fine lines across dune faces. A beetle leaves a brief, patterned trail. Dry shrubs stand in dark, delicate shapes under the moon. Somewhere, a lizard settles into shelter. The sky above becomes immense, filled with stars so clear they seem almost within reach. Beneath that sky, a scorpion travels through a world defined by texture, temperature, and the memory of shade. Its movement is light and measured. It pauses often. It follows contours in the sand that a human eye might barely notice. Between the dunes, small hollows collect cooler air. Rocks release the last of the day's warmth. A scorpion might pass near a stone, pause beside a tuft of dry grass, then continue toward the dark mouth of a burrow. Everything it does is economical. Nothing is wasted. In such economy, there is calm. Deserts are often imagined as empty, but night reveals a quieter truth. They are full of subtle life adapted to simplicity. Moths drift through moonlight. Fox tracks cross older snake trails. Tiny seeds rest in the sand waiting for rare rain. The scorpion is part of this understated world, one more careful inhabitant of a landscape shaped by patience and extremes. But here, those extremes are softened by the hour. Night cools all things. Night makes the dunes kind. The soundscape is minimal and soothing. Perhaps a faint breeze moving across a ridge. Perhaps the soft slide of loosened sand. Perhaps nothing at all for long stretches, only the feeling of spaciousness are under starlight. In that spaciousness, the mind can rest because there is so little to hold on to. One dune after another. One star after another. One quiet creature tracing the earth. Scorpions spend much of their time sheltered, tucked beneath stones or in burrows where temperature remains more stable. These hidden spaces are part of the desert's rhythm too. Rest underground by day, quiet movement by night. The pattern repeats, dependable and ancient. It is a way of living that listens carefully to the environment, never forcing itself against heat or dryness, always moving with the desert's natural flow. Moonlight gives the sand a remarkable softness. Each dune ridge glows faintly. Low shrubs cast delicate shadows. The scorpion's outline appears small and clear for a moment, then disappears into another fold of land. There is no sense of hurry here. The desert is too old and too patient for that. Even the smallest nocturnal life seems to understand this and move accordingly. Toward dawn, the air becomes cooler still. The stars begin to fade. A pale ribbon of light appears at the horizon. The dunes shift from silver gray back toward muted gold. One more night folds gently into morning. The scorpion returns to shelter, and the desert grows quiet again in a different way, waiting for the next evening when the sand will cool and the stars will return. And so, the desert teaches calm through spaciousness, repetition, and light. Even a creature as small and carefully armed as a scorpion becomes, in this setting, part of a restful pattern. Emerge, move softly, pause, return to shade. The dunes hold the memory of each step only briefly before wind smooths them away. Nothing lingers too heavily. The night opens, cool and wide, and the tired mind drifts with it. Snow Leopard Mountains. Again, the high mountains open under a pale sky, and the world becomes stone, snow, and distance. Ridges rise one behind another until they fade into blue, each one quieter than the last. The air is cold, enough to feel clean in the imagination, as though every breath could rinse the noise from the mind. Fine snow rests in creases of rock. A low sun touches one slope while leaving another in blue shadow. Nothing moves quickly here. The snow leopard returns as a presence of softness within the hard geometry of the peaks. Its thick coat blends with the mountain itself, patterned like shifting cloud on stone. It steps onto a narrow ledge with complete assurance, placing one broad paw after another as lightly as falling snow. The long tail follows in a slow curve, balancing the body and adding a quiet elegance to the climb. High places create a special kind of calm. There are fewer sounds, fewer distractions, only wind, space, and the patient shape of the land. The snow leopard suits this calm perfectly. It does not rush across slopes or force itself against the mountain. It reads the ridges, the gullies, the scree paths, and moves in harmony with them. A pause beneath an overhang, a turn along a spine of rock, a gradual ascent towards sunlight. Even the color of the mountains feels restful. White snowfields, pale stone, gentle blue shadows, the faint silver of ice tucked into dark cracks. Overhead, the sky stretches clear and thin. Occasionally, a bird crosses, small against the scale of the landscape, then disappears. The snow leopard remains near the earth, close to the contours that have shaped its life. It knows where the rock narrows, where the wind is strongest, where the best resting shelves hold afternoon warmth. When it settles, the cat becomes almost invisible. It lowers itself onto a ledge and draws its tail close. The chest rises and falls slowly. The ears flick once at a distant sound. Then stillness returns. In this resting pose, the snow leopard seems less like a solitary predator and more like a natural feature of the mountain, as if the cliff itself had grown fur and breath for a little while. Far below, the valley holds streams hidden under ice and patches of dark earth where snow has thinned. The mountain light changes slowly through the day, and the snow leopard seems content to follow those changes without resisting them. Morning cold, midday brightness, evening blue, night silver. Each hour brings a different texture to the land, and the cat remains steady through them all. As dusk arrives, shadows deepen along the ridges. The air grows even clearer. Stones that were gray at noon now appear lavender and blue. The snow leopard rises and moves again, becoming a flowing shape between boulders. Its paws remain soundless. Its body stays low and balanced. The mountain accepts every step. Nothing about the movement disrupts the peace around it. Night in the high ranges is full of quiet light. Stars sharpen overhead. Snow glows faintly. Wind threads through saddles and across cornices with a distant whisper. A snow leopard crossing under those stars becomes a dreamlike presence, half moonlight, half memory of motion. The mountains are large enough to hold such solitude without making it feel empty. Instead, they make it feel complete. Perhaps that is the gift of this scene. Strength hidden inside softness. Solitude that does not feel lonely. Motion that never hurries. The snow leopard continues through its pale world, and the mind following it begins to loosen from smaller worries. Thought widens into distance. Breath matches the cold, clean air, and still the cat walks, quiet as mist over stone, leaving only the lightest traces in the snow. Open ocean sharks. Once more, the open ocean spreads outward in every direction, broad and blue and gently in motion. Above, the surface gathers sunlight in trembling silver patterns. Below, the water deepens gradually into cooler shades. Suspended between those layers, the sea feels both endless and protective, a place where everything is carried rather than forced. Long swells pass overhead. Currents move unseen. Tiny particles drift in shafts of light. A shark glides through this liquid world with the same calm certainty as before. Body aligned, fins steady, tail sweeping side to side in a slow, even rhythm. It moves as if the water were simply an extension of its own form. There's no jolt, no break in motion, only glide following glide. The ocean seems to welcome that economy, wrapping each movement in softness. In the open sea, distance itself becomes soothing. There are no crowded edges, only gradual transitions. Bright water to dimmer water, warmer current to cooler current, surface shimmer to blue depth. The shark belongs to all of these changes. It travels through them without resistance, sensing small shifts that guide its path. In this way, it becomes an emblem not of threat, but of composure. Sometimes the shark passes beneath drifting clouds, and the light above dims for a little while. Sometimes the sun returns, and the upper water sparkles. Sometimes a school of fish folds into silver shapes nearby, and then unfolds again. The shark maintains its steady line through all of it. Even turning seems graceful in the sea, a broad curve rather than a sudden decision. Sound underwater remains muted and round, the low hush of water, a faint clicking far off, the subtle pressure of movement in the surrounding blue. The imagination can rest there, inside a world where sound is softened and everything important happens gradually. The shark's presence enhances that calm because it is so perfectly fitted to this softened environment. Closer to a reef edge, the sea might brighten turquoise over coral and sand. In deeper water, the blue becomes more profound and quiet. A shark passing from one zone to another seems unchanged, carrying the same patient rhythm with it. The ocean does not demand performance. It asks only balance and flow. That is why this image can be so restful to hold. Morning sea, afternoon sea, dusk sea. Each has its own mood. In the morning, the water may look clear and silvery, full of clean light. At dusk, it turns richer, more cobalt, more velvety beneath a lowering sky. In every mood, the shark continues its unbroken journey. An ancient swimmer in an even older element, muscle, water, and time all working together in silence. To imagine the open ocean is to imagine support from every side. Water beneath, water around, water carrying movement forward. The shark trusts that support completely. It never seems to argue with the sea. It reads it, follows it, becomes part of it. And so the mind, imagining this, may begin to trust softness too, to let itself be carried for a while, rather than pushing against everything. The shark moves farther into blue distance now, still visible, but smaller, then clearer again as it turns and passes through a brighter band of light. The tail continues its calm, sweeping motion. The fins remain steady. The sea breathes. Light trembles. Nothing demands urgency. The whole scene becomes repetition in the best sense, a steady flow of water and motion that soothes by continuing without strain. African savanna lions. Again, the grasslands open beneath a gentle evening sky. Acacia silhouettes stand delicate against fading gold. Warm air from the day lingers low over the earth, but the first coolness has begun to arrive. Grasses ripple in small waves under a soft wind. The savanna stretches far beyond sight, spacious and uncluttered, holding both light and shadow in long, peaceful bands. Lions rest there once more, surrounded by the quieting plain. A lioness lies with her head lifted just above the grass, eyes half closed, listening to the evening without moving. Nearby, another shifts slightly and settles again. A male rests in the shadow of a low tree, mane touched by the amber remains of sunset. The pride is awake in a gentle way, not active, only aware. There is something especially calming in the way lions inhabit time. They do not seem hurried by the fading day. They let the hours change around them. Dusk arrives, night follows, dawn will return. Between those moments there is rest, shared presence, and the comfort of warm ground beneath a cooling sky. The pride becomes part of the landscape's breathing. Dust carries the scent of sun-warmed earth. Dry stems brush against one another. Insects begin their steady evening hum. The plain glows for a few last moments before color drains into violet and blue. A lioness rises and walks a short distance, each step quiet and deliberate, then pauses to look across the grass. Her movement feels as smooth as the wind itself. Nothing abrupt, nothing wasted. As darkness deepens, the lions become silhouettes and softer shapes. Their coats no longer shine gold, but blend into bronze, umber, and shadow. Above them, stars begin appearing one by one. The first moonlight gathers on open ground. It is easy to imagine the pride from a short distance, a loose circle of calm bodies sharing the same patch of earth, safe in familiarity with one another. Cubs, if present, may curl closer to a resting lioness, their smaller breathing joining the slow rhythm of the group. Tails flick once in the cooling air. One lion lifts its head, listens, then lowers it again. The simplicity of these gestures makes them soothing. They are repeated every evening across the savanna. Rise, settle, listen, rest. By the later hours of night, the grassland feels even larger. Moonlight fills the spaces between trees. A breeze moves along dry riverbeds and over termite mounds, carrying the scent of dust, leaves, and distant water. The lions exist within that moonlit space as quiet inhabitants, neither hidden nor conspicuous, simply present where they belong. When dawn comes, the horizon lightens gently. Birds begin before the sun appears. The plain takes on pale color again, silver green and gold. Dew may rest briefly on grass tips before warming away. The lions return to the deep stillness of morning rest, folding themselves into the land as though sleep itself were part of the savanna. In following them through evening, night, and dawn, the mind learns a calmer pace. Not all power is loud. Not all watchfulness is tense. The lions remain creatures of long pauses and warm earth, of shared silence and gradual light. And the grass continues to move around them, endlessly, softly, like breathing. Arctic coast polar bears. The frozen coast returns beneath a pale northern sky. Snow lies in drifts shaped by steady wind. Sea ice stretches away in broken, white fields, separated by dark leads where cold water breathes between the flows. The horizon is wide and almost empty, giving the ice space to wander and then grow quiet. Light reflects from snow in soft silver tones. The air feels clear enough to ring. A polar bear appears once more as a quiet figure on the ice, white upon white, moving with the patient strength of something entirely at home here. Its steps are broad and deliberate. The shoulders roll gently beneath the thick coat. Breath rises and vanishes. Behind it, tracks print the snow in a line that the wind will gradually soften. The Arctic offers calm through simplicity. Ice, snow, sky, water, wind. Few elements, repeated in subtle variations. The bear fits this simplicity perfectly. It does not decorate the scene. It completes it. When it pauses to lift its nose toward the breeze, the gesture feels small against the great openness, and that contrast itself is soothing. Snow may begin to drift across the surface in faint ribbons. Cloud may pass over the sun, turning bright white into pearl gray. Then the light clears again. The bear continues through each change without hurry, along a pressure ridge, across a flat sheet of young ice, beside the shoreline where snow covers stones and frozen seaweed. It moves steadily within the Arctic's larger rhythm. Sometimes the bear rests, lowering itself into a shallow hollow in the snow where wind has carved a gentle shape. From there, it becomes almost indistinguishable from the land. Only the curve of back and faint movement of breath revealing life. The stillness of that pose feels deeply restful, as if even the cold has settled into silence. Far off, the sea ice may crack with a distant muted sound, not alarming, only part of the frozen world adjusting to pressure and temperature. Nearer by, snow grains hiss softly along the surface in the wind. Overhead, perhaps a gull or a small northern bird crosses the open air and disappears beyond the edge of sight. The bear remains a centered presence within it all. During the long light of late spring or summer, the coastal world opens a little. Meltwater reflects the sky. Dark ground appears in patches. The bear walking between snow and shore still carries the same quiet composure. Pale fur set against brown earth, blue water, and drifting white ice. Seasonal change does not disturb the calm of the place. It only alters the tones. In deep winter darkness, moonlight creates another version of the Arctic's peace. The snow glows faintly blue. Stars feel near and countless. A polar bear moving beneath them becomes almost luminous, as if made of moonlit vapor and breath. The frozen coast extends around it, huge and serene, full of silence that never feels empty. Following that slow movement once more, the mind can begin to mirror it. One step, one breath, one wide horizon, one soft drift of snow across ice. The polar bear continues without rushing, and the Arctic continues with it, both living by patient cycles larger than any single thought. Mangrove estuary crocodiles. The estuary returns in warm, low light, where tangled mangrove roots stand in still reflective water, and the incoming tide fills narrow channels with quiet force. The air is humid and green. Leaves hold a glossy sheen. Mudbanks darken near the waterline. Small ripples move out from hidden places and fade into reflections of trunk and sky. A crocodile rests just beneath the surface, visible only in part, eyes above water, nostrils above water. The long back suggested by a darker line beneath the reflections. It floats with astonishing calm. The channel around it seems to slow even further, though perhaps it is simply that this much stillness changes how time is felt. Mangroves create shelter everywhere. Roots break the current. Branches soften light. The tide enters and leaves by degrees, never suddenly. A crocodile gliding between those roots becomes one more quiet motion within a place already defined by gentleness of change. The surface opens around its head in the slightest of curves, then closes again. The estuary's sounds remain delicate. A bird calling once from deep shade, a drop of water falling from one leaf to another, the minute tapping of tiny creatures near the mud, insects maintaining a steady background tone. None of it is harsh. All of it blends into a humid lullaby. The crocodile, ancient as it is, does not interrupt that lullaby. It inhabits it. As the tide rises, more roots become submerged. Reflections lengthen. The water takes on bronze tones where the lowering sun reaches between trunks. A crocodile turning in such light creates only faint, spreading ripples. It seems less like a swimmer than a piece of the estuary itself being carried slowly along a channel. Heat lingers in the mud banks after sunset. The air remains warm and rich with scent. Wet earth, salt trace, leaf decay, flowering growth somewhere hidden. A crocodile resting near the bank, half upon the mud, half within water, becomes another warm, dark shape in the evening. The eyes may close for a while, then open again. Time lengthens around the still body. Rain in the mangroves deepens the calm. Droplets drum softly on broad leaves and stipple the channel with countless circular rings. Reflections blur into green and gray. The crocodile beneath that rain becomes only a suggestion, a patient line in brown water. Over and over the drops fall, making the estuary feel enclosed, protected, rhythmically alive. Night settles in gradually. Branches darken. Water becomes black glass. The tide turns once more. Somewhere beyond the roots, the sea continues its great breathing. The crocodile moves through that dark mirror world with almost no sound at all, guided by the familiar arrangement of roots, depth, and current. Ancient knowledge carried through warm water. In returning to this estuary, the mind finds the same comfort as before. Repetition, shade, tide, stillness. The crocodile remains calm within calm, an old creature held inside a living maze of roots and water. Nothing needs to be hurried here. The channels know where to go. The tide knows when to rise. The leaves know how to catch and release the rain. Rainforest jaguars. The rainforest gathers again around you in layers of green. Moist air settles close. The canopy filters daylight into narrow beams and soft patches. Leaves overlap leaves until the whole forest feels like a woven shelter, deep and enclosed. Water drips from branch to branch. A hidden stream moves over stone nearby. Insects keep their steady, almost musical hum. A jaguar passes through this dim, bright world once more, its patterned coat absorbing and reflecting the jungle light. Rosettes darken in shadow and glow softly when the sun reaches through the leaves. The body moves with an unhurried certainty that makes the undergrowth part around it as naturally as water would around a smooth stone. Close forests encourage attentive quiet. The jaguar seems built from that quiet. It does not need to rush because everything important is already nearby. Shade, water, roots, paths through foliage. the complex layered sense of a living jungle. A paw presses into damp earth. Another follows. Leaves bend and lift again. Nothing more than that. The rainforest is rich with repetition, drop after drop of water falling from high leaves. Frog calls beginning as dusk approaches, the low murmur of insects that rarely fully stops. The jaguar moving beside a stream joins these repetitions, adding another gentle rhythm. Step, pause, listen, continue. Such rhythms soothe because they ask nothing except attention. In midday heat, the forest breathes moisture from every surface. The jaguar may lie in the shade of buttress roots, where the ground stays cool and the air hardly stirs. There it becomes a resting form in mottled light. Above, unseen birds shift in the canopy. Vines hang motionless. Somewhere nearby, water taps into a pool with patient regularity. Evening in the jungle is especially soft. Green deepens. Mist begins to gather low over wet ground. Fireflies may appear between trunks like brief floating sparks. The jaguar moving through that twilight seems both solid and dreamlike. An animal of beautiful weight and almost supernatural silence. Yet it is entirely natural here, part of the forest's larger stillness. Rain begins perhaps softly at first, then more steadily. The leaves answer in many tones. Broad leaves thrum. Fine leaves whisper. Pools tremble. Earth darkens. The jaguar continues through that rain with quiet ease, its coat beaded with droplets, its body low through wet ferns and trailing vines. The jungle smells greener, richer, softer. Sound becomes one continuous curtain. When the rain eases, the forest keeps dripping for a long time. Each drop seems to extend the calm. The jaguar near a watercourse may pause and look into the moving reflection beneath overhanging leaves. Then, as before, it disappears between trunks, leaving only the sense that the forest itself has shifted and resettled around its passing. To imagine the jaguar this way is to feel the rainforest not as a place of intensity, but as a place of depth. Depth of shade, depth of moisture, depth of time. The cat belongs to all that depth, and so the mind can sink gently with it down into darker green quiet, where thoughts soften like mist above warm ground. Boreal forest wolves. The northern forest opens once again under tall, dark trees. Spruce branches hold snow in quiet layers. Birch trunks catch pale light. A frozen lake lies nearby, smooth and still, reflecting the first silver of morning. The air is clear and cold, and every sound is softened by distance and snow. Wolves move through this forest in a familiar line, one after another, leaving neat tracks along a path between the trees. Their pace remains steady and measured, head low, ears attentive, breath drifting behind them in brief, white clouds. They seem not to cross the landscape, but to read it, following old routes known by memory and season. The boreal forest carries calm in its textures: needles, bark, snow, moss, frozen water. Wind through the evergreens sounds like a low, endless whisper. Now and then, a branch releases gathered snow in a small hush. Beneath this quiet canopy, the wolves continue with the same enduring composure they have always brought to the woods. One pauses in a clearing and looks across the open white space toward the dark line of more trees. Another waits near the shelter of young firs. Their stillness is as soothing as their movement. Wolves understand pause as well as distance. They stand and listen, then continue. In that simple pattern, there is a rhythm easy for a tired mind to follow. At dusk, the forest changes color. Snow turns blue in shadow. Tree trunks darken. The sky above the pines holds the last pale strip of day. Wolves traveling through that half-light look almost woven into it. Gray shapes among gray trees, present but never loud. The world narrows to track, breath, and the gentle creak of winter woods. In warmer months, the same forest becomes green and fragrant. Ferns rise along the paths. Mosquitoes hum in shaded air. Lakes reflect a softer sky. Wolves moving through summer growth carry the same calm, now accompanied by leaf rustle and the scent of damp earth. Seasons change, their steady manner does not. A distant howl may travel through the trees, long and clear. Heard from the imagination's safe distance, it feels less like a cry and more like part of the forest's voice. One note opening into the cold evening, touching lake, hill, and stand of pine before fading again. The wolves listen, the trees listen. Silence returns, deeper than before. Night arrives fully. Stars prick through the spaces above the branches. Moonlight lays silver across the frozen lake. A wolf steps to the edge of the trees, stands for a moment, then turns back into the forest where the others are moving. The woods receive them, branch by branch, shadow by shadow. Returning to these wolves means returning to steadiness itself. Family, distance, weather, and trail. Nothing overdone, nothing wasted. Only the quiet persistence of life moving through trees and snow, through season after season, until even thought begins to take on that same calm, deliberate pace. Desert dunes and night scorpions. The desert returns under a sky so full of stars that the darkness feels luminous. Dunes lie in long, sleeping curves, their ridges silvered by moonlight. The heat of day has drained away, leaving cool air that settles into hollows between the sandhills. Sparse shrubs stand motionless. The wind, if it moves at all, moves gently. A scorpion emerges once more from shelter beneath a stone, or from the mouth of a small burrow. It enters the open night slowly, adjusting to the cool surface of the sand. Its movement is precise and light, each step leaving the faintest mark. In the huge quiet of the desert, such small motion feels delicate rather than severe. The dunes create repetition that soothes the eye, curve after curve, shadow after shadow. Nothing cluttered, nothing excessive. The scorpion traveling over one small section of that vast landscape becomes a reminder that even the most spare environments hold life, and that much of that life unfolds softly when the world is finally cool. Moonlight changes the desert into a softer version of itself. Harsh edges disappear. Sand reflects pale, blue-gray, and silver. The small creature crossing it casts a neat shadow that glides beside it over the ripples left by wind. Pause. Continue. Pause again. The rhythm is minimal and exact. Somewhere a beetle moves near a tuft of grass. Somewhere, a fox's old tracks are already fading under new wind. The desert keeps and erases signs with equal gentleness. The scorpion's path, too, will be smoothed away by morning breeze. There is comfort in that. Not everything must remain. Some things are meant only for the quiet night that holds them. The sky above the dunes seems almost endless. Constellations sharpen. A streak of faint cloud passes near the moon. In this open space, the mind can loosen because there is so little demanding attention. One ridge of sand, one tiny traveler, one cooling night, one horizon beginning far away to pale pale toward dawn. Before morning, the air reaches its coolest point. The sand no longer holds warmth on the surface, only a memory of it deeper down. The scorpion returns to shelter, and the desert becomes still once more in a different register, awaiting the first color that will touch the eastern edge of the world. The dunes remain, the stars fade, silence stays. Returning to this small nocturnal scene again makes the pattern even gentler. Emerge when coolness arrives, move lightly, listen to the spacious night, then disappear into shade before the sun. A complete cycle written in sand and moonlight. And there, the desert continues, wide and uncluttered, carrying its smallest hunter across the soft, rippled surface of the earth, until the mind, following those tiny, measured steps beneath the stars, grows quieter and quieter still.